News Talk WSIC and Purple Heart Homes present Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Galena and Brad Borders.
Good morning and welcome to Putting the Pieces Back Together. I'm John Galena.
I'm Brad Borders.
And we are happy to be here with you this morning, the week of Christmas here in
Merry Christmas, brother.
Year of 2021. Hey, Brad, I'm really surprised. I believe we're up now over 10 listeners this week.
Yeah, maybe 11 today. Yeah, depending on who's got their computer or phone on, which is everybody.
We definitely got one new listener because we got a new guest in the studio with us today.
That's exactly right. That's awesome. Hey, if you got a message you want to leave us, you can call 704-761-8328. That's 704-761-8-FAT. It's the FAT line. It doesn't mean you're fat if you call it. It just means we didn't have any other words we could make out of that number, so that's why it's the fat line.
And at the end of the day, Brad, really, again, just to get our listeners keyed up here, Putting the Pieces Back Together is a show to talk about veterans and veterans issues and the way the community can get together and help and support and have a better understanding of our veterans. And so we want to hear from them. And, we've think about a little bit about our service in the sense of a mail call. It's really important to get mail. And let us know that you're a listener. Share a funny story with us, help share a way somebody has inspired you, whether you're a veteran or whether you're just a community member, and how maybe you get involved and help support veterans in their needs.
Yeah, we'll make you famous or infamous or whichever one. So, but it is super awesome that it's Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I used to not like Christmas, but
you didn't shoot your eye out at one time, did you?
No, I did not. But I got the greatest Christmas gift. This was before, so everybody's seen the movie A Christmas Story, and little Ralphie gets his whole life is driven by getting a Red Ryder BB gun. Well, in 1977, my dad gave me and my brother Red Ryder BB guns, and it was the exact scene from that movie. He hid them behind the couch. And we did not get them when we came in to first open our presents.
Even had the leg lamp, right?
I mean, we didn't have the leg lamp.
Oh, okay.
So, but the whole, it was the exact scene. That was before that movie was made. And then when that movie came out, I was like, they owe me money because they stole my story. That's just the God's honest truth.
It's funny. I have a story about a leg lamp. We had a veteran we helped a number of years ago. It's been about 10 years ago or so. He had an amputation when he passed away. His family mailed the leg to me, and I've held on to it. I thought, it might make a cool lamp one day, but I think some people don't think so.
No, I think
maybe it needs a little lace on it.
That'd be a great way to honor him. You just put his name on it and have it lighten up your, the place where you read your books and all the books you read about numbers and spreadsheets and your love language, which numbers. So I think that'd be great.
I think
that'd be great.
So today's also another significant day in our history.
Yeah, man. So today's December 23rd, and in 1942, Bob Hope, the legend, agreed to entertain U.S. airmen in Alaska for the very first time during World War II. And that set off these big USO tours where all these famous celebrities would travel into theater to put on shows for the GIs, as they called them back in World War II. And so that began today in 1942, almost, that's a bunch of years ago, almost 80 years ago, 79 years ago today. So that's pretty awesome. Speaking
of legends, we started off one of our first show here talking about a legend in our community here, a legend in the Marine Corps, and that was Pete Miletis, served in Chosin Reservoir during the Korean conflict. And
my friend Wayne Rogers, who I used to work for at Tar Heel Lumber Company, was really good friends with Pete and used to call him Sneaky Pete. I don't know if you knew that, Vivian, but he used to call him Sneaky Pete. And I met Pete when I was 15 years old, hauling sheetrock at a Tar Heel Lumber Company.
Wow.
And so met him a long, long time ago.
I was a little older. I was more like about 25 when I met Pete. Had just returned home from Iraq and, of course, come home with a Purple Heart. And Pete, having served in Korea and had received Purple Heart as well, he had started a chapter of the Military Order of Purple Heart here in the community and had Dale and I involved in that. And just a great man, certainly one to welcome us home with open arms. And really a great inspiration for us to be involved and be more connected into the community, and exemplified what service after the military life really was about and how you helped others. And so I'm really excited to welcome our guest, Vivian Miletis, today to be with us.
And the crowd went wild.
That's right. That's right.
Standing ovation everywhere.
She is now the president of PVAC, Piedmont Veterans Assistance Council. And so, Vivian, why don't you tell us a little bit about PVAC and how PVAC got started?
Thank you for having me here today, for one. PVAC was a dream of my husband, Pete's. He was told many years ago, I think he was probably about 83, and was told by the sheriff's department that there were a lot of veterans that were in the woods there at the water tower at exit 33. So he said to me, I'm going to be back in just a little while. And I asked him where he was going. He said, I have to go to exit 33. Okay, why are you going? He said, the sheriff's department told me there were veterans that were living in the woods, and they don't belong there. They belong in houses, not the woods. And I said, and you're going in there? And he said, yes, I'm going in there. I'm going to bring them out. And I said, Pete, please don't do that. You don't know what they're going through with PTSD. He said, I speak their language. I said, Pete, PTSD doesn't have a language. He was not deterred.
He wasn't going to listen to you.
Well, that's one time he did not.
I can hear this conversation happening, and he's going in to go get them out. It sounds like a military operation.
Every bit of so. So he came back, and he had the biggest smile on his face. He said, I got 3 of them out. He said, I talked to them and told them I wanted to take them out to get them some food. He took them to what was the soup kitchen at the time. He got them fed, got them some food. That was a great achievement for him that day. He was just on cloud 9. Then he started talking later on. He said, we have to do something about this. It was a long 6-year journey. Peter and I were all over Iredell County. He said, we have to find a home for them. The woods is not where they belong. He said, so we're going to go take a ride. We were, again, all over the map. And every time we came upon something, somebody beat us to the punch. And so this went on for 6 years. And every day, Pete would say, God, is today the day? Is today the day that you're going to show us where we can bring these veterans? So we were out off, I think it was somewhere near Oswalt Road, and we found this old school. And Pete was just so excited, and he said, this would be perfect. It's off the beaten path. Nobody can complain about anything. And unfortunately, a young couple had just purchased it because we were having grandiose ideas about there's enough rooms, there's this, we can do this. And unfortunately, he couldn't have his arm twisted enough to sell it to us. And so we both admitted to ourselves it just wasn't where God wanted or in God's time. And Pete never made a move. We don't make a move without God instructing us which way to go, left or right. And so it went on and on until we got to the point that Darby Scaff, Statesville Housing, is a very good friend of ours, and we had dealt for many, many years with Fifth Street Ministries, very close friends with them. And so it started snowballing. And unfortunately, my husband passed away a year ago, November. And while we were in the midst of trying to find a home, Pete asked for 2 requests from God. First and foremost, let me see the realization of a transitional home for our veterans to get them off the streets. The second was to become a great-grandfather. And God did not take him until he became a great-grandfather 3 times over, and just now the 4th one was born to his first granddaughter. And again, the realization of that transitional home, that was just ingrained in him. Peter knew what it was like to be a veteran. He served in Korea, came home on a Purple Heart draft. The first 15 years of our marriage, Peter fought every night. I think people have the idea that when a veteran comes home and that uniform comes off, the war's over. That war's just begun because now they're back in familiar territory and people don't understand them. And he literally would scream. He would run. And I didn't dare wake him. But he would come out of it and he'd say, "Oh, my God, all I saw was Chinese and Korean faces." Mm-hmm. And that lasted every bit of about 15 years. And I learned to move very quickly because Peter was a boxer in Korea. He took out the Texas boxing champ with one blow, to the amazement of everybody, because Pete was all of 145 pounds and this guy was a mountain. And he he had his first best friend in Korea who ended up saving Pete's life twice. And it was all because he took that guy out. And he said, "Oh, I have to meet this guy." He took the champ out with one blow. But Pete joined the Marine Corps because he wanted to make sure that he could measure up. That was the very reason he did.
He told a lot of good stories about his time, and I think every time I talked to him about Korea, it got colder and colder with every story. And but it was like super cold at the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. I mean, it was
I think
30
the highest
below.
he told me it was 55 below.
Yeah, I think he got to 60 one time when I was
did
talking
he?
to him. Yeah, but it got colder and colder the whole time.
You had
I'm
to
sure.
be there. You
had to be there.
And quite a character, had just a great passion for people, and I believe that was also a part of what he carried out of the service. I think it's part of what he carried in the service, but what part he carried out of the service. And just for our listeners, just to kind of recap that piece about PVAC and the transitional house, a community partnership with multiple organizations by which now, over the course of the last, I believe, about 5-6 years, has served over 80 veterans
Right.
in the process of providing them housing for 2 years to get them set up in the VA and be able to stand on their own 2 feet, one of which is actually a veteran that has become a team member, an employee of Purple Heart Homes, and has been with us now for about 2.5 years himself. And
No, it's longer than that. It's like almost 4 years.
man, time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy. So and so for our listeners too that may be listening not locally to us in Iredell County, the Fifth Street Ministries is our local homeless shelter, and they've been around for over 30 years. Was started on the south side of our town in a really old, dilapidated original facility, and this community has really come around that ministry to provide safe space not just for veterans but for homeless folks of all walks and shapes, and they have really good programs to get people out of homelessness and on their path to a better life.
And before we move into kind of the next segment, because I've told a number of people here recently, if there was ever a most interesting woman, that would be Vivian Miletis. We just need to give you a Dos Equis, and we could do a commercial with you. But in the process, want to just add in there, this partnership with PVAC and with Fifth Street is expanding as Purple Heart Homes has now gotten engaged with you all as well. Mm-hmm. And recently there's been a project that we've started together to provide 2 tiny homes to further the veterans' ability to stay in safe transitional housing more long term. And so moving out of that transitional veterans house to be able to move into a tiny home. And so PVAC set up a matching gift program to be able to help raise the remaining balance of the funds for that. And we're going to be in January, we'll be having an event where we'll be doing a ribbon cutting, and our first veteran will be moving into one of those homes.
That's going to be awesome.
Wonderful.
That's going to be cool.
It is.
Yeah,
Really
it's going to be
exciting.
really cool. Well, you're involved with another awesome thing since it's Christmas, and I have seen a lot of you in the last couple of weeks because you are staging a massive operation at our facility at Purple Heart
Massive's
Homes.
like 30,000 toys in our
It is
warehouse.
amazing. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what's happening with this Christmas and this outpouring of giving that is happening through your energy and a lot of other folks.
Toys for Tots. This is my 19th year. Every year, Pete would tell everybody that he was a widower from November through January.
Right.
And I started as a volunteer with Toys for Tots back in 2002 when we started the Marine Corps League. And so I did this in honor of my husband because I believed in everything he did. And I wanted to be a Marine so bad. So I got news for Paris Island. I could go through boot camp because what I went through with 22 years with Pete, I know I could survive. Again, I've been into this for 19 years. My heart's in it because As a child, my father passed away when I was 6, leaving 5 children. Had it not been for the generosity of a church that found out about this little ragamuffin family, they took us to the church. We were able to get one toy, which was a Barbie doll, and a small bag of fruits, and with peppermint candy. And I'm 65 years young, and I still just remember it as if it were yesterday. And I remember telling my mom I wanted to help when I got older. So fast forward, I've enjoyed doing this because we have to remember these children. If you've ever walked in the shoes of these children and know what it's like to wake up on Christmas morning and there be nothing, we refuse to let that happen in Iredell County. We average probably about 4,000 children every single year, and that's just our organization. We are built with nothing but the hands of people that love what we're doing. And so we've been blessed. God, as I requested, just dropped them in my lap because we were in desperate need, and they came in forces, and they haven't stopped. We reach out. I handle 2 areas. It's Iredell and Davison, Cornelius, and Huntersville. And it is something that you have to love. You get paid by the smiles that you know are on everybody's faces come Christmas morning, and you could not write a check with enough zeros to pay us for what we get out of it.
And so just that us and thinking about that is volunteers from lots of different parts of the community, from churches, from other organizations. I know the Housing Authority, Western Avenue, they've all been involved. And I just encourage all our listeners out there, not only those that can hear us live on the airways from WSIC News Talk Radio at 100.7 FM, but also those that are listening on Facebook Live, to understand that the community partnerships are really important, providing that engagement, both supporting and being supportive of our veterans and veterans' families is really critical.
Oh, I'm sure there's veteran families that are in the midst of those 4,000 kids. There's veterans families that are benefiting from this, plus folks that are not connected with the military. How is Toys for Tots connected to the military?
1947.
All right.
I believe it was Los Angeles. I can't remember his rank, but he was stationed there, and his wife created a Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy and gave them to him and said, take this to an organization that can get these to needy children. When he came back at the end of the day, he had Raggedy Ann and Andy in his arms. And he told her then, there is no such organization. That is how it was created. It was local, but now it's all the way into.
That guy was a Marine too, right?
Absolutely, it is the Marine Corps. It is.
So now, all across the country, Toys for Tots is really set up and organized through the Marine Corps leagues, through veterans that have served in the Marines that belong to that organization, and they really try and strive to get the community engaged to support these families while they still providing service to families, and so it's so important, such a great and worthy cause, and we're glad to be able to help be a very small part of that with you all this year, and look forward to continuing that effort in years to come.
Small, no, no. It is
more,
magnitude.
I'll say
I've
for our
heard
listeners,
more carts going through our warehouse. We have a metal floor at our warehouse. It's like like diamond plate metal floor, and we've got Home Depot carts and things like that, right? And they are just all day long. It sounds like helicopters. I'm like having
it's more bicycles
flashbacks
than even Walmart has.
It's incredible. It's
well,
absolutely
the reason
incredible.
we have more is because that's where we bought them from.
Yeah, so we're excited for you guys and what y'all are doing, and so many kids are gonna be waking up with smiles, and putting kids on bicycles is something near and dear to my heart. So keep doing that. That's amazing.
Well,
Thank you so much.
We're blessed with the Brawley Drafters, who are avid cyclists, and they raise money.
I've ridden with those guys before.
One of their big donors is a Marine.
Yeah.
And he feels the same. So we've been blessed for 10 years now to have them do that. So we go pick the bicycles out and just imagine. We do get pictures from some of the kids that are on the bicycles, and it's their first bicycles ever.
That's amazing.
And so we're blessed. We're
Vivian,
blessed with you guys helping us out because it has been a true blessing.
It's an honor for sure on our part. Just as we start to wrap up here, got two questions for you. Just number one, how can listeners get involved with Toys for Tots? How can they contact and organize to get supportive?
Wherever they're located, we are bound by our counties. I handle part of Mecklenburg and all of Iredell. All they have to do is go on toysfortots.org.
Okay.
And you can sign up as either an organization that has a drop box that we can provide the boxes and signage to collect the toys for us. You can become a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And we can go through the steps of what's a stocking stuffer and what is a toy. And we still have some of our Marines that can't quite get that, but we're blessed anyway. And they can donate. They can donate locally with the toys. They can donate financially. They can go online and donate. But they always have to make sure that when they do so, that they donate to the specific county. Otherwise, it goes into general funds.
Great.
There.
Thank you so much for being here with us. I know
thank you.
As we close in on Christmas here in just a few hours now, we're starting to count down the hours. Mm-hmm. Brad, otherwise affectionately known as Chap, has a special Christmas message for us that he's gonna share with us.
Well, so growing up, I always preferred Christmas Eve over Christmas Day. And so why is that, right? And I think it is the anticipation of the unknown. We grew up here in Statesville, and every Christmas Eve we would go to the midnight service at Trinity Episcopal Church, and the heightened anticipation of being able to stay up late, one, when you were little, which is a big deal, and then leading into we knew that when we got out of church, it was going to be Christmas. It was like it was on, right? And nobody could get to sleep, and my brother and I would stay up until the wee hours of the morning. And but as with material gifts go, sometimes the gifts that are wrapped up are more valuable than when you unwrap them, because in a couple weeks as a kid, the toys lose their luster. And so my question is for us all as we enter into to this time of Christmas, when we're anticipating the arrival of our Lord, is that what if the gift was better than we imagined? What if the thing that was wrapped up was the best thing that was ever given to us? So I would submit that the gift was wrapped up to us in swaddling clothes, wrapped and put not under a tree but in a manger, and that gift would then grow up to take death away from the world and give us true hope. And as we walk through Advent and as we look backwards to Jesus' birth, but we also look forward to the reconciliation of the world, and that will be better than we imagined.
That's right.
I'm very thankful for that.
Well, Chap, I'm really appreciative of that, and want to wish all our listeners out there a very Merry Christmas. Looking forward to our next show coming up on Putting the Pieces Back Together here on WSIC News Talk Radio 100.7 FM, 105.9 FM, 1400 AM, all based here out of Iredell County, and also on Facebook Live. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Welcome Home Vets, Lake Mountain Coffee, Cook's Headers. We just really appreciate all those listeners out there. We've also got our next show guest coming up, very special family.
Lord help us.
We're actually going to have our first duo guest here.
Yeah.
We've got
more Marines.
David and Don Childers.
More Marines. I don't know. We're inundated. We're being invaded by Marines.
And this another special reason why not only just because he's a Marine, but he actually wrote a book.
Yeah, he wrote a book.
God Sent the Dog, and it's not written in crayon, and it's not a photo book. So we're excited that.
Right, yeah. So there's actual words. There's
lots of
and
words.
It's long. It's like 620 pages long. So we look forward to those guys being here next week. It is going to be fabulous. Yeah. So Merry Christmas to you, John Galena.
Merry Christmas to you, Chap. Merry Christmas, Miss Miletis, and we are so thankful for you joining us today. Hope all our listeners enjoyed today's show, and we look forward to talking with you again next week here on Putting the Pieces Back Together.
Thank you all so much. God bless you.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Galena and Brad Borders. Join us again next Thursday at 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on News Talk WSIC.